So, what would you say comes to mind when you think of the country Indonesia?
Indonesia, Bali, and yeah.
Indonesia. It makes me think of Bali. I don't know if that's right or not. Probably not. Coffee. Maybe. I think I knew the capital of Indonesia at one point, like Jakarta or something. And for some reason I think of like patterned shirts. I don't know if that's right or not. But yeah.
I don't know. I guess like kind of tropical, like islands. I don't know, stuff like that. Jungle.
If I were to give you a blank map, would you think you'd be able to point it out? No.
Maybe it's a cluster of islands, kind of like Malaysia. I don't know, but
I think I could know like generally where. I know it's a bunch of different islands, so I don't know that I could like name every single one, but like I think I could know like mostly where it is.
Probably the area, but not it specifically. Okay, if this is like your large map, and like the US is over here, and then Australia is over here, and then like there's like that string of islands, right? I think that would be around where Indonesia is.
Okay. And do you think you would know anything about Indonesian history?
Oh gosh, probably not. Yeah, no.
History? Yeah, no. I really don't.
Do you know anything about Indonesia?
I know where it is.
I know where it's located, and as an environmental science major, thanks to Dr. Mark Alprin, I know that it is affected during El Nino and La Nina events. In El Nino events, it can suffer from major droughts, but normally it's got a lot of rain. I've read a little bit about some of the coral reefs in Indonesia, so I know a little bit about the marine ecology there. I'm pretty sure I heard of like an earthquake or a tsunami that happened there recently, but that's about the extent of my knowledge.
So what do you know about any key figures in Indonesia?
To be honest, I don't think I really know any key figures in Indonesia.
Okay. So what other beliefs or perspectives do you hold of Indonesia as of now?
I do know that it is a developing country. However, in general, I haven't really come across much about Indonesia.
Okay.
I can't say I do.
So what do you know about Indonesia?
I know it's a country or an island in Southeast Asia, I believe.
Do you know anything else about it?
Not really.
Alright, so what do you know about the geography in Indonesia?
The time I've spent there was mostly in the Mentawai Islands, so it was mostly small island chains surrounded by coral reefs with beautiful white sand beaches and palm trees. But in the transport before we got to the islands, I remember a lot of flat land, a lot of rice fields, and then as you got closer to the coast off of the mainland, there were a lot of mangrove forests and stuff like that that sheltered most of the beaches. But for the most part, all the time I've spent there has been on isolated island chains around the world.
I don't know much about it, but I know that it's a lot of islands, and there's a lot of volcanoes that make it like mountainous on the inside, but it's like completely surrounded by coastline, and it's pretty rugged. Like there's a bunch of trees and forests. It's the largest archipelago in the world.
Tell me a little bit about the demographics of Indonesia.
So most people who live in Indonesia are Muslim. It's not a very wealthy nation. Most people live not in poverty, but they're not very well off. But then there's a lot of expatriates or expats who come in to live there. So it's kind of a big, I guess, gap between the rich and the poor. I don't know how much that's changed over the years, but and it's a surprisingly big country. Not a lot of people know that.
I think it's one of the most populated countries, and I believe the main religion is Muslim.
So do you have any impression or any idea of what either business practices or the business environment of Indonesia is like?
Yeah, so I've never been to Indonesia, or I haven't really read or seen anything about the business practices there. But from my time in Asia over a summer in China, I do know that there is a lot of regulation when it comes to financial services. However, on the opposite end, manufacturing, there aren't that many regulations. I do know that Indonesia has fairly cheap labor, and so I can imagine that the manufacturing regulations there are non-existent. So I definitely could see how that would carry over from a country like China to more poorer countries in Southeast Asia.
Well, I've never actually been to Indonesia, but I did study abroad over the summer in China, and we learned about two important factors that they call guanxi and renxi, and these are basically it's the language of business in China, so I assume that there might be something like that, and it's basically like building social influence and making friendships with people and sort of helping them out and then expecting to be returned in that favor in some way.